Hey y'all, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Erin McGoff. I'm a career and life advice creator, and today we're talking about how to track and maximize your happiness. In my last video, I briefly mentioned how I track my happiness through data. I have like all these little things where I track my daily happiness anyway, and you guys wanted to know more. So in this video, I'm walking you through exactly how I do it. First, I'm going to show you how I've tracked my happiness almost every single day for the past 7 years and give you a free template for you to do it yourself. Second, I'm going to tell you some surprising insights that I learned through tracking my happiness. And lastly, I'm going to recommend 3 books on positive psychology that can give you a lot of insights into this journey of maximizing your happiness. So if you're feeling blah, depressed, sad, bored, down, unmotivated, and you don't really know why, you just don't feel good, this video is for you. So let's get into it. So for the past 7 years, I have tracked my mood, activity, and habits almost every single day. I started doing this in college because personally I just really like data and I was curious to see if I could find any trends. I wanted to see what my happiest days and weeks had in common so that I could maximize the things that make me happy and minimize the things that make me sad and depressed. So if you're curious about doing this for yourself, here is how I recommend doing it. Tracking your happiness daily is a habit, and to make any new habit stick, you have to make it 2 things: easy and enjoyable. I've tried 2 ways that don't work. First was writing in a notebook. This was easy, but I'd always forget it when I was traveling, and it was really hard to visualize the data. And the second thing I tried was apps. But you know what? I never found an app that I liked. I would try it for a few months and then I would delete it and try something else. So I built my own happiness tracker, and it does exactly what I want it to do. And I'm giving it to you for free, the exact happiness tracker that I use. The link is down in the description for free. It's pretty intuitive, but let me walk you through just a couple things that you should know. So when you open up the template, it's going to look like this. What you need to do is go up to the top right corner and click this duplicate button. Then if you already have a Notion account, it will add the template to your account. And if you don't, you'll simply just need to make an account. So once you've copied the template, you can now customize it to whatever you want. And so what I do personally is that I wake up every morning and I will go to the calendar view and I will click into the module for the day. Something that's important to know is that these will auto-populate each night at midnight. So I went in and I created some generic tags for y'all, but I highly recommend going in here and creating your own custom tags. So that can be like, what kind of alcohol did you have? Who did you talk to? What kind of work day was it? Like things that are really specific, make them into tags because you might be shocked at what you see correlating with your mood. And then I like to keep this really simple, but another category that I find extremely helpful is the sub-emotions category. And so I might be happy today, but I might also have some sub-emotions underneath that. So I would be happy, but I might also be stressed. And so that was something that I found really interesting, was the days where I was unhappy, I would also click like bored. But the days where I was happy, I would click stressed. So I was like, there's a correlation. When I'm stressed, I'm happy. And when I'm bored, I'm unhappy. So that's kind of like an interesting insight for me. And then if you want to go a bit deeper, down here, I have something called the 3-2-1 method, which is this bullet journal method that I created where you just name each day 3 work priorities, 2 health priorities, and 1 fun priority. So pick 3 work things that if you don't get them done a day, you will be in trouble. And then pick 2 health things. These can vary from I flossed my teeth or, all the way up to like I ran a marathon, whatever that is. And then 1 fun priority. I watched a new episode of The Bachelor. So anyway, the 3-2-1 method is there, and then you can name 3 things you're grateful for. Okay, now let me share with you 3 shocking insights that I personally had after tracking my happiness daily for years. The number 1 takeaway that I had was that things that feel good in the moment typically did make me happier in the big picture. So like sleeping in, drinking a lot of alcohol, scrolling social media, eating whatever, whenever, staying in, couch rotting, binging Netflix. Like these are all things that feel good in the moment, but they're kind of like junk food. Like it's fine to eat junk food, just in moderation. Don't get me wrong. I love a fancy cocktail and staying out late and watching Netflix just as much as the next girl, okay? But it's junk food. Like, it feels good to eat a bag of Doritos. I'm not going to be sad after eating a bag of Doritos. But if all I'm doing every day is eating Doritos with no greens, no proteins, no fiber, no vitamins, nothing, I'm gonna feel like crap. So my number 1 takeaway was absolutely that discipline is self-care for future you. What might not make you happy in the moment can make you exponentially happier over the course of your life. The things that make you happiest aren't always easy, but they're worth it. It's kind of like stoicism, like you have to deprive yourself of immediate gratification, especially in the age of over-consumerism and social media when we all just get these dopamine hits every day throughout the day. Like you just have to know where to set boundaries and where to set limits with yourself, and this really taught me that. Number 2, I'm happiest when I'm socializing in real life with real people. This was a huge shock to me because I'm actually a huge introvert. You might not think so because you always see me talking in front of the camera and all this stuff. That doesn't mean I'm an extrovert. You can be an introvert and still be a very social and confident person. But I could spend a month by myself in a cabin and be perfectly happy. But what I learned is that that's actually not a good strategy for my mental health or my happiness. Again, it's like the bag of Doritos. Like, it feels great, but it's actually not great for me in the grand scheme of time. Like, it feels great in the moment to just stay in and isolate and, oh, no, canceling your friends. But no, it's much better for me when I go out and socialize. And I think a lot of it has to do with me working for myself at home, spending most of the day on the internet, that when I was talking to real people in real life, it was something that I needed. I think all humans need real life, real human interaction. And I'm very like pro hybrid remote work, but it's definitely a con that I see that I don't really hear people talk about enough. Humans are social creatures. So if you're somebody who's working from home or you're working remote, you gotta make sure that you're still talking to real people in real life. I don't care if you're an introvert or you're shy, you gotta get out there. It's so important for your mental health. Another data point that I saw is that my happiness would spike when I was looking forward to something. In psychology, this is actually referred to as anticipatory savoring, and it is a very real thing. So maybe it was a vacation coming up, or maybe I was just planning a vacation, but actually most of the time it had to do with work. So if I had a work project that I was really looking forward to or really excited about, that's when my happiness would get a boost. So for example, even when I was writing this video, I saw a boost in my happiness because I was really excited about making a video that would help other people have a healthier relationship with finding happiness. And like that idea made me excited. So then I was intrinsically and extrinsically motivated, which I can do a whole other video on motivation. We work an enormous chunk of our waking hours, so if you're working on things that you don't necessarily like or make you unhappy, a big chunk of your life is going to be unhappy. So that's why I'm a big advocate for finding a job that makes you happy. But anyway, I digress. Different video. Let's move on. And lastly, if you're interested in learning more about happiness and positive psychology, I'm going to share with you 3 books/podcasts that I have really loved. And y'all, I have spent a lot of time researching this. But a quick disclaimer before we wrap up on the video, I just want to say that you shouldn't judge yourself while you're doing this. This is purely a learning and observation opportunity. If you have days where you're not feeling good, or days where you made a mistake, or days where you are unhealthy, don't judge yourself for that. Just log it. Just log it, and that's fine. If you have days where you're feeling stressed or anxious or depressed or down or blah, whatever it is, that's okay. It's okay. Like, it's fine. Humans have an array of feelings. Just like some days we feel super elated and happy, we're gonna have other days where we feel super down and depressed. You're not wrong, you're not dysfunctional, there's nothing wrong with you because some days you feel really down. But if you're feeling down in general and you don't quite know why, this can really give you a lot of data and information for you to help to see patterns and data trends in your life. So anyway, I just want to say, don't use this to hate yourself or to judge yourself, but rather just to learn about yourself. Okay, book/podcast number 1, 10% Happier with Dan Harris. Y'all, there are so many people out there who claim that they want to help you biohack your brain and your cognitive happiness, but they themselves don't seem that happy. I'm like, you seem kind of stressed. I don't know about this. Dan Harris is not one of those people. He seems genuinely at peace and very happy. And you know he's probably got a lot going on in his life, but he seems like he practices what he preaches. I really enjoy listening to his podcast 10% Happier, where he brings on guests and subject matter experts to discuss topics around happiness. It's excellent. Go listen. It's on Spotify. Number 2 is The Happiness Lab with Dr. Laurie Santos. Dr. Santos is a cognitive scientist and a professor at Yale University, and her podcast, The Happiness Lab, discusses happiness from a scientific point of view, which I find fascinating. I just think that the brain is a really complex thing, and thinking about how our environment around us impacts the way that we feel, fascinating. So if you're into that, highly recommend. Number 3 is the book The 4 Agreements. I actually have it on my bookshelf right there. It's one of those books. Okay, this isn't the first book that a lot of people think of when you're picking out a book on happiness off the shelf, but it has brought millions of people, including myself, so much peace and joy in their life through teaching us about accountability. This book is a short read, and I highly recommend it, especially if you're just starting this journey. It's a great book. And one more bonus book if you're looking to really sink your teeth into this. This book rocked me to my core, and I've never read anything like it. And disclaimer, if you're a particularly sensitive person, or maybe you don't react well to like new ideas or being challenged, don't read this book. It's called The Courage to be Disliked, and it's a book written in the Socratic method about Adlerian psychology, which sounds really pretentious. I just realized that, but it's not. It's a wild read, but it really, at the end of the day, is about these self-limiters that we have that kind of block ourselves from reaching our true potential and being happy. And there's actually a sequel to this book called The Courage to Be Happy, which fits in very, very well with the subject. And to wrap up here, just like the Buddha said, there is no path to happiness. Happiness is the path. You know, I don't really think that happiness is something that you find, but rather it's something that you create. For me, I just try to take myself a little less seriously, be silly, be honest, be kind, and I try to not take anything for granted. There are people out there praying for the things that I complain about. So I just try to maintain perspective while also trying to help people. So with that, you got this, and I'll see you next time.